बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। जी, हमारा यूनिट एवोल्यूशन का लास्ट टॉपिक है अबाउट द डार्विनिज्म। और इसमें हमें एक्सप्लेन करना है थ्योरी ऑफ नेचुरल सिलेक्शन को एज प्रपोज्ड बाय डार्विन। तो हम इसको स्टार्ट करते हैं कि थ्योरी ऑफ नेचुरल सिलेक्शन बाय चार्ल्स डार्विन जो है उसको अगर हम सिंपली लें, क्योंकि ये बहुत सारे सिलेबाई में शामिल होता है और इसको ज़रा डिटेल में समझना और इतना मुश्किल नहीं है। लेकिन इवन देन चूंकि हमें एमडी कैट के लिए दिया गया है तो हम उसे क्रिटिकली ज़रा देखेंगे, ताकि हम उनमें से जो भी एमसीक्यूज हमें आते हैं हम उनको जो है वो आंसर आउट कर सकें। देखिए, जो डार्विन है वो 1809 में उसकी बर्थ हुई। जैसे हमने पहले पिछले लेसन में डिस्कस किया था कि ये ईयर है जिसमें लेमार्क ने अपनी थ्योरी, जो लेमार्किज्म कहला रही है, वो प्रपोज की थी। तो ये बॉर्न ही उस ईयर में हुआ, 1809। He proposed the theory of natural selection after his famous voyage on HMS Beagle, especially based on his observation of plants and animals in South America and Galapagos Island. So his total theory based upon certain observation which he made during his voyage. So what Darwin observed: number one, South American species had a unique stamp different from European species. क्योंकि साउथ अमेरिकन जो कॉन्टिनेंट था वो सेपरेट था फ्रॉम द मेनलैंड यूरोपियन जो एरिया है, तो इसलिए उसने कहा कि ये अगर एक जैसी ही स्पीशीज लगती हैं लेकिन ये डिफरेंट हैं फ्रॉम वन अनदर। So fossil found in South America resemble living species from the same region. So once again, there is an evidence, rather there was an evidence which he was keeping at that time in his mind. On the Galapagos Island, he noticed that animals found nowhere else in Earth, यानी वो some are specially present over there, और उसने अपने जो जर्नी थी, अपनी वॉयज थी, उसमें कहीं और नहीं देखे। 13 टाइप्स ऑफ फिंचेस, जो कि बर्ड की एग्जांपल है, दैट वर सिमिलर बट वेरिड स्लाइटली फ्रॉम आइलैंड टू आइलैंड। यानी अगर वो ग्रुप ऑफ आइलैंड था उसके वो वॉयज में, तो उसने कहा कि तकरीबन उसने काउंट किया तो 13 डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ फिंचेस जो हैं वो उसको मिली, जो स्लाइट वेरिएशन रख रही थी फ्रॉम वन अनदर। So he concluded these finches had adopted to different environment, such as food source है या वहाँ का environment है, उस लिहाज से, यानी वहाँ की जो क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशन क्या है इस लिहाज से वो मुख्तलिफ हैं। So Darwin's main idea, which he published in 1859 in The Origin of Species, his famous book, उसमें उसने ये पब्लिश किया। तो नंबर वन उसके आइडियाज का जो पहला पॉइंट था वो ये था कि डिसेंट विद मॉडिफिकेशंस। सो ऑल लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स आर रिलेटेड एंड हैव इवॉल्व फ्रॉम ए कॉमन एंसेस्टर। ये पहला उसका एक पोस्टुलेट था, पहला एक पॉइंट था। उसने जो कंक्लूड किया अपनी सारी इस ऑब्जर्वेशन से कि ऑल लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म जो है रिलेटेड हैं और मे बी इवॉल्व फ्रॉम ए कॉमन एंसेस्टर। So over time, these organisms have diversified and adapted to different environments. ये उसकी ऑब्जर्वेशन में भी आया और ये उसने हमें जो आइडिया दिया, creating the variety of life forms seen today. So imagine life as a tree. According to him, all species branch off from a common trunk, यानी कोई ancestor है उससे निकल रही हैं, forming new branches यानी species over time। ये उसका एक आइडिया था जो उसने प्रपोज किया। अब जो डिसेंट विद मॉडिफिकेशंस है, उसने कहा कि ऑल ऑर्गेनिजम्स दे हैव डिफरेंट वैरायटीज, डिफरेंट चेंजेस which were not present in their parents, and the all the offsprings they are having certain sort of changes as compared to their parents। तो ये उसने कहा कि always there is descent with modification। नंबर टू, उसने आइडिया क्या दिया कि नेचुरल सिलेक्शन के मैकेनिज्म ऑफ एवोल्यूशन जो है वो चला रही है नेचुरल सिलेक्शन. So Darwin proposed that evolution happens by natural selection based on these key observations. Number one, कि how natural selection works. Number one क्या है कि overproduction of offsprings. So more organisms are born than the environment can support. This leads to competition for resources like food and space. So this is very, what we say, raw and basic idea that there is always overproduction of offsprings. So if there is overproduction, so obviously the organisms, they have to compete with one another for the resources, and particularly if they are of same species, so of intraspecific जो competition होगा वो और भी ज्यादा severe होगा, because they are equipped with the same morphological and physiological what we say capabilities. सो ऑर्गेनिजम्स जो हैं ओवर प्रोडक्शन हमेशा होती है, आज भी हम देखें तो ये कॉमन है कि देर इज ऑलवेज ओवर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ ऑफस्प्रिंग्स इन ऑर्डर टू मेक श्योर द सर्वाइवल ऑफ द स्पीशीज. वी टॉक अबाउट सर्वाइवल ऑफ द स्पीशीज. सो सेकंड पॉइंट ये है कि वेरिएशंस अमंग इंडिविजुअल्स, ये रूल ऑफ द थंब है कि देयर इज ऑलवेज वेरिएशन अमंग इंडिविजुअल्स. नॉट ऑल इंडिविजुअल्स आर आइडेंटिकल. सम हैव ट्रेट्स दैट मेक देम बेटर सूटेड अडॉप्टेड टू सर्वाइव. क्यों? इसलिए कि जेनेटिक वेरिएशंस या वेरिएबिलिटीज मौजूद हैं सेक्सुअली रिप्रोड्यूसिंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स के अंदर. सो वेरिएशंस जो हैं वो हमेशा से रहेंगी इंडिविजुअल्स के दरमियान में. और तीसरी बात उसने कही कि सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट, एज देर इज ओवर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ ऑफस्प्रिंग्स, एज देर इज लेस व्हाट वी से रिसोर्सेज, सो ऑर्गेनिजम्स दे हैव टू सर्वाइव. सो ओनली द फिटेस्ट will get the more chances to survive and will get the more chances to reproduce. So ये भी एक नेचुरल फिनोमिनन है और था उसके आइडिया में, और अभी भी हम समझते हैं ये ठीक है कि those with favorable traits survive longer and have more offsprings. So these traits are heritable, passed on to next generation. ठीक है. और फिर उसके बाद उसने कहा कि if there is a overproduction of springs, if variations among individuals are always there, and if the due to shortage of resources, organisms have to survive, and only fittest will get the more chances. So what will happen over the time? Gradual changes will occur, and the best one will be selected. And over the years, and due to many generations, these, when we look back to the by comparing the original species, original organism ancestors, so the at certain present time, at any reference point, the changes will be there. So gradual changes जो है वो over time होती रहेंगी, और eventually this can lead to the formation of new species, which we name nowadays as the speciation. सो उसने एग्जाम्पल या अपनी ऑब्जर्वेशन जो है वो रखी थी गैलापागोस फिंचेस से. अ सिंगल स्पीशीज ऑफ फिंच फ्रॉम साउथ अमेरिका मे हैव रीच्ड द गैलापागोस. ये उसका आइडिया है कि वो वहाँ पहुंची. ओवर टाइम दे अडॉप्टेड टू डिफरेंट आइलैंड्स, some ate seeds, some insects, some used to other tools. So these adaptation led to new species with different beak shape and behavior. So what was the summary? Darwin theory explained how species evolve over time through a natural and slow process. Yes, organisms better adapted to their environment are more likely to survive, and if they get more chances to survive, obviously they will get more chances to reproduce. So this is how new species can eventually form. So critical elaboration of Darwin's theory of natural selection अगर हम करें तो it is highlighting the strength, scientific value, and maybe some limitations, but overall, the theory of natural selection is well accepted. So Darwin theory of natural selection, if we critically evaluate, if we are supposed to evaluate it, so these will be the point. Number one. Overview of the theory once again. Darwin proposed the evolution occurs through gradual changes where individuals with favorable heritable traits are more likely to survive. Number one, will get more chances to reproduce. Number two, and pass on these traits to next generation. Number three. So over generations, this leads to adaptation of population and sometimes the emergence of new species. So what is the strength of the theory he proposed? Number eight, based on empirical observations. So he made many observations. So Darwin's observations were variations among species, example, Galapagos finches, fossil record, and biogeographical distribution of organisms is showing that in past the ancestors were same, and the variations are due to certain natural selection mechanism. So provided strong real world evidence for evolution, supported these things supported the idea that species are not fixed but can change over time. So natural selection explanation is, before Darwin, many explanations of biodiversity were religious or mystical. Darwin gave a mechanistic and testable explanation based on natural laws, mean that no divine intervention, which became what we say main theme of the modern biology. So we are not talking about that we are not we are not believers. Mean that natural selection is due to nature, and nature is allowing the happening of these events so that there is evolution. So explain adaptation. The theory beautifully explain how organisms adapt to their environment over generation. For example, if we look for camouflage in animals, beak shape in finches, and number four is foundation for modern evolutionary biology. Darwin work laid the foundation for genetics, later integrated with his theory to form new Darwinism after the era after Darwin. So population biology, conservation biology. So uh, if we are supposed and we are bound to criticize, so we will look for certain what we say points out of his theory. Number one, lack of knowledge of genetics. Darwin did not know how traits were inherited. Yes, obviously at that time there was no concept of genes. He was unaware of Mendel's work because it was actually published in rediscovered after 1900, mean the beginning of 20th century. So this made it unclear how variations were passed on or maintained in population. But he was knowing that there are variations and they are being passed on from one generation to other generation. So what is the solution of this criticism? So modern synthesis, new Darwinism later combined Darwin theory with Mendelian genetics. So the problem is now solved. So gradualism questioned. Darwin proposed slow gradual changes, but fossil record often show sudden appearance and extinction. These were the gaps. So this lead to the idea of punctuated equilibrium proposed by two scientists. Evolution may happen in bursts, not always gradually. So role of chance underestimated. Darwin emphasized selection, but underplayed the role of random events, for example, mutation, genetic drift. He was not knowing these terms, these ideas. Today, random genetic mutation are seen as key source of variations. Yes, obviously. So uh, the other point of criticism is not a complete explanation for all evolution. Natural selection doesn't easily explain the origin of life. The question still remain unsolved. How life originated? So this was the question before the scientists. So then the development of complex organs like eye, although later explained by certain scientists. So illustrate behavior in some animals, self-sacrifice in worker bees, example is there. So how to explain these things? Because if we look for only survival for the fittest, then how this sacrification behavior is there in animals? So misinterpretation and misuse, the phrase survival of the fittest coined by the scientist Herbert Spencer was misused socially. For example, social Darwinism leading to the racist ideologist justification for colonization and inequality, and eugenic movement now rejected. So uh, the scientists and the some what we say uh, social scientists, they were using this survival for fittest idea for their what we say explanation of certain cruel behaviors and certain other things. For example, eugenic movement, that only the better organism with better genetic material, they are supposed to live, and rest of the races, they should be, rest of the individual, they should be vanished away from the planet Earth. So this is not going to happen in modern world right now. So modern support and modification, Darwin's core idea is still valid, but now understood in more detail through molecular biology. For example, DNA mutations, genetic drift and gene flow, and epigenetic concept and developmental biology. So if we conclude Darwin's theory of natural selection, it was revolutionary because gave an natural explanation for the origin of species, change our view of life and our place in nature. So, however, it was incomplete without genetics and had since been refined by the modern science. Despite criticism, Darwin's theory remains a central pillar of biology, forming the basis of our understanding of life's diversity. So, if we compare uh, Darwin theory of natural selection and Lamarck's theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics followed by summary table, so we can look for these changes. For example, a feature for Darwin theory proposed by Darwin and Lamarck's theory proposed by Lamarck. Main concept in Darwin theory, nature selection, survival, and reproduction of the fittest. And in case of Lamarck's, inheritance of acquired characters was the main concept. So in case of Darwin, how traits are passed, only inherited, mean genetic traits are passed on from one generation to other, but according to Lamarck, traits acquired during lifetime are passed on, can pass from one generation to other. So he was his idea. So example, giraffe with slightly longer neck survive better and reproduce. Giraffe stretched neck to reach trees and passed longer neck to offsprings. This was the idea proposed by Lamarck. So what is the role of environment? In case of Darwin, environment selects the better adopted individuals. But according to Lamarck, environment causes individuals to change. So this is the difference. That this is not actually the changes are due to environmental change. The organisms are not able to change themselves as they receive different environment, because the variations are always there, always there. The best suited variations will be selected. So this was the theme of the Darwin's idea. So how variations occur if we consider the concept and feature? So according to Darwin's theory, variations already exist in population. This is the valid point. And Lamarck says variations are created in response to need. So acceptance today supported by modern biology and genetics, but the Lamarck theory disproved by modern genetics. So the strength and criticism of if we are bound to criticize and look for certain strengths and criticism. So Darwin theory based on wide range of natural observation, but criticism did not explain how traits are inherited, no knowledge of genetics. Obviously, at that time, he was not aware of genes. So then the second strength is provided a scientific testable mechanism for evolution, but the criticism is fossil record often shows gaps, not gradual changes. Obviously, because all the things they were not fossilized. So this is the main point. So then explain adaptation and survival of better suited organism. But the criticism is don't does not fully explain evolution of complex organs or behaviors like the altruism, the sacrification of certain organisms for the benefit or betterment of society, of their society, their colonies. So the strength is influence the development of modern biology, misuse in social theories like social Darwinism, supported by later discoveries in genetics, paleontology, and molecular biology. So underestimated role of chance, for example, mutation, genetics. He was not knowing these things. So gave rise to neo-Darwinism when combined with Mendelian genetics. So the criticism is that cannot alone explain origin of life. Yes, obviously. So these are the certain what we say main points. The study and the criticism and rest of the things about Darwin's theory of evolution. So this is all about from the evolution unit. I will see you next in certain other units. Till then, Allah Hafiz.